3FM 92.7. It is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, Military High Command promises to investigate assault on Media General's reporter in the Northeast region just hours after the Ghana Journalists Association raised red flags. We'll bring you the statements from both institutions and get some perspective to it. Also coming up, the National Democratic Congress vows to seek redress following the reinstatement of Matthew Nyindam as Member of Parliament for Pandai constituency after the Supreme Court's decision. And later in the bulletin, vetting of aspirants contesting the National Democratic Congress Ayawaso East parliamentary the hopefuls for the parliamentary primary has just ended, but the fate of Hajia Amina Adam, the widow of the late Ayawaso East MP, is yet to be made known since she has since been rejected by the party. Well, we are told that her request to contest has currently been rejected. We will give you details of what exactly we do know as the vetting, we are told, has just come to an end. What's the next step for her and why has the party decided to sidestep her interest in running for the position? Before we get these details, let's bring you the news summaries with Nura. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Martin. Good evening. This is the news summaries right here on Hot Edition. First in the summaries, commercial banks are beginning to call clients to go for loans due to low lending rates that the sector is experiencing. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has said. Dr. Isiama said during the 128th Monetary Policy Committee press conference in Accra on Wednesday, January 28, that he obtained from people that their banks are placing phone calls to them to come for loans. Also in the summaries, Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources, Kenneth Gilbert Ejay, has disclosed that a resettlement of communities displaced by the Akosombo Dam spillage has delayed due to land ownership disputes, legal challenges and difficult terrain at some project sites. Speaking to the media during the Government Accountability Series on Wednesday, January 28, Mr. Ejay said that while construction of new homes for some victims are at varying levels of completion, progress remains stable at some communities. In more interesting developments, Nollywood actor Kunle Remi has ranked Nigeria as the worst African country American streamer and YouTuber IShowSpeed visited on his tour. In a post on his Instagram story on Monday, January 26, 2026, Kunle Remi claimed Lagos, the capital of Nigeria, has lost its cultural essence, also claiming that all of Nigeria can now boast of our fake alcoholic drinks and people begging on the streets. Meanwhile, head coach of Nations FC, Frimpong Manso, has expressed confidence in his side's ability to secure a positive result when they face league leaders Mediama SC in their Ghana Premier League Week 21 encounter at the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex. Speaking to Akoma 87.9 FM, the Nations FC boss acknowledged the quality and experience of Mediama, describing them as one of the strongest teams in the league this season. Now the director of the Port of Takoradi at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, Captain James Richmond Kwesen, has called for an end to the road haulage of manganese ore, urging strategic investment in rail transportation. Instead, he emphasized that such investments should connect mining regions to the port in a way that optimizes port capacity and operational efficiency. And also, the Ghana Armed Forces is investigating an alleged assault on a journalist, which was reported on Monday, 26 January 2026, and this incident was reported to have occurred at the outskirts of Wale Wale in the northeast region, where in recent times there have been reported incidents of attacks on public transport, resulting in deaths and injuries. The Ghana Armed Forces wishes to alert the general public that these current happenings in the Northeast and Upper East regions have resulted in heightened levels of insecurity, which will occasionally necessitate the conduct of military operations without notice. The general public is hereby informed to cooperate with the Ghana Armed Forces and other security agencies. That will be all for the summaries. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Nura. So you will stay with us because we are told that you have the statement coming in from the Ghana Armed Forces about the alleged attack on some journalists around the country, where the GJA earlier today outlined a number of attacks that they have received as an association. So the Ghana Armed Forces has also reacted, and a statement we'll be bringing to our listeners in a moment. Before that statement, let's listen to exactly what the concerns of the Ghana Journalists Association are. They held a press conference earlier today, and the association is demanding an immediate investigation and punishment of the military personnel who brutally assaulted Media General's Northeast Regional Correspondent Solomon Kanalu. Media General's correspondent was allegedly assaulted during the coverage of a military exercise in the Northeast region. The management of Media General has condemned the assault, demanding the military high command to urgently and thoroughly investigate the incident and ensure that all personnel found culpable are identified and appropriately sanctioned. GJA President Kwabena Jumfor, during a media briefing, noted that it is deeply troubling that this rising attack on journalists and the reports of it does not seem to want to go away, and says that the security agencies who are undertaking these unfortunate, condemnable attacks need to be cautioned and sanctioned appropriately by the appropriate authorities. They also want the identities of these individuals made public, and the right sanctions that are given to them should also be made public. Let's listen to Albert Jumfor, who spoke earlier at the GJA press conference.
Even after Kanalu identified himself as a journalist, the assault reportedly continued, with the soldiers stating that they did not care about this profession. And mind you, he was in the attire of Umia TV, Umia FM, the t-shirt of his media house, and that must be put on record. He was detained for a while and released after his phone was seized and some pictures and messages deleted from the phone. In fact, they recycled the phone, or reset, how did they call it? They flashed the phone. They flashed the phone so that he wouldn't get any information or data on the phone. So if the military was doing something right, was lawfully exercising their powers, why would they seize his phone after subjecting him to inhuman attack? Seize his phone, flash his phone, so he wouldn't get any information. And even messages that were sent earlier to people on that day were all deleted before the phone was recycled. This is how inhuman some people can be. This conduct is unacceptable, unlawful, and deeply troubling. It reflects a dangerous disregard for the rights of civilians and journalists, and undermines public confidence in the professionalism of the Ghana Armed Forces. The GJA condemned this assault in the strongest terms and calls on the military high command to immediately investigate the incident, identify the personnel involved, and apply appropriate sanctions. We further demand that the matter be treated with the seriousness it deserves, and that the victim is offered protection and support. Attacks on journalists by military personnel, whether in the line of duty or otherwise, are completely intolerable and must not be normalized under any circumstances. We spoke earlier today. I reached out to the military command on the matter. Even though they did not make any official or formal position, they said that they will await for our pressure and they will react accordingly. But I want to put on record that information we have picked from some quarters, which indicate that the journalist was not well dressed or did not follow the protocols, and for that matter, he was not easily identified, couldn't be identified as a journalist. It's false. It's a palpable false, because the reporter or the journalist in question was not there to even discharge his official duty, or was not even there to even cover what they were doing. He was just there as a private citizen and journalist who lives in the area and has sparked his motto to just get some stuffs from a nearby shop. He wasn't there to discharge any official duty or assignment. And even with that, he was in the attire of his media institution. And so if the military people claims that whatever is happening is false, why did they recycle his phone? We will await the position of the military command We are very much keenly and interested in the matter, and we are ready to react and respond to any position they come out with. We hope that they will be very fair, firm, objective, and candid with their position. This is the media they are talking about. They can't use our own media. You can't issue a statement which will be contrary to the truth and expect our people to cover it, to give you the needed mileage. Our international partners are waiting on us to brief them with all the happenings in the country, and will not hesitate to do so. GJA's demands. In light of the foregoing, the Ghana Journalists Association demands the following: a public release of the investigation findings and sanctions by the Ghana National Fire Service.
Right, so that is the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Jumfor, and the National Fire Service, you heard at the tail end of his submission, is as a result of another attack that was, meted out to another journalist by a personnel of the Ghana Fire Service about a week or so ago. So it looks as though the security services, whom journalists have been working with cordially over the last few years, have unfortunately had some miscreants infiltrate their ranks and have been unleashing unprovoked attacks on journalists, with the latest being what the Ghana Armed Forces have done to a TV3, 3FM and Media General journalist in the Upper East region, the Northeast region, I should say. So the Ghana Armed Forces have released a statement. I'm going to read it verbatim, and then, subsequently subjected to some analysis. They say, the statement is signed by Veronica Adjo-Ahin, captain in the Ghana Navy. She is the acting director of public affairs or public relations of the armed forces. The statement says, Ghana Armed Forces investigates alleged assault on a journalist. The Ghana Armed Forces is investigating an alleged assault on a journalist, which was reported on Monday, the 26th of January, 2026. The incident was reported to have occurred in the outskirts of Wale Wale in the Northeast region, where in recent times there have been reported incidents of attacks on public transport, resulting in death and injuries. The Ghana Armed Forces wishes to alert the general public that these current happenings in the Northeast and Upper East regions have resulted in heightened levels of insecurity, which will occasionally necessitate the conduct of military operations without notice. The general public is hereby informed to cooperate with the Ghana Armed Forces and other security agencies. And that's how the statement ends. And respectfully, this is... I probably need to hold myself up, but respectfully, this statement does not address the concern of why a journalist who was clearly clad in an outfit to show that he is a journalist would be subjected to severe whippings, and the marks are on his back. We would show that on our stream. We are showing, the bulletin is live on YouTube and on Facebook. If you're following, you'd see the severe marks on the back of the journalist who... it was clearly unprovoked, had just gone to the area, and as a journalist who saw that some activity was happening in a public space, decided to even just inquire, only for some unscrupulous, backward and archaic soldiers or people, criminals in military uniform, deciding to attack this journalist. And it's very unfortunate that the armed forces would release this statement, which does not address the issue, does not mention anything, and just goes ahead to say they were undertaking an operation. And this is how they say that the incident was reported to have occurred at the outskirts of Wale Wale in the Northeast region, where in recent times there have been reported incidents of attacks on public transport resulting in death and injuries. So it is unfortunate that they would release this very vague statement and expect that journalists in general and media general for that matter, or the journalists in question, would take it like that, and then what? So then everything goes back to normal. This is not the way democracy should be. That a state institution like the Ghana Armed Forces that needs the media to work hand in hand cannot just on the back of an operation attack innocent citizens, innocent civilians who did not provoke them in any way. And like the GJA president said, the journalist in question was actually just finding out. He saw what was happening, that some soldiers were around an area, decided to go and find out what it was. And even before he could answer the first question he was asked, one of the soldiers or one of the criminals in uniform whipped him or started beating him, and on the back of that, they took his phone and deleted messages and pictures that were on his phone. So if the armed forces is expecting that the media in Ghana work with them collaboratively, this is not the way to go. And we expect more from them than this very empty statement that have just been released. So we'll deal with this particular issue in subsequent bulletins. I'm told that we have Solomon Kanal Lue on the line, who is the correspondent who was unfortunately attacked, our Northeast Regional correspondent. Solomon, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening.
Right. So to start with, how are you feeling? It's been, the last few days have been very difficult for you, we know, but what's the situation with you? How are you feeling now?
Okay, so for now, I am still okay. I have been taking as prescribed by the physician. So for now, I am getting better. Getting better,
right. The armed forces have released a statement, and per what they are saying, they were undertaking an operation in the region where they say that in recent times there have been reported incidents of attacks on public transport, which has resulted in death and injury. So that was what they were doing, and then you showed up. I'm sure you've seen a copy of the armed forces statement. What do you make of it?
All right, so thank you. It's rather unfortunate. I just saw the statement and I asked myself, if armed forces are taking an operation, does it involve destroying cars and beating innocent citizens? That's a question I asked myself. And in fact, it's unfortunate that this is coming from an institution like Ghana Report, because the way the whole thing happened, people were busily working on their daily activities. Then you suddenly appear and started beating people. I, as a journalist, felt like the army always maybe deal with criminals and not innocent citizens. So unless, of course, the Ghana Armed Forces are saying that they deal with innocent people and not criminals. Other than that, it's rather unfortunate.
Clearly so. So since the incident, have you had any officer or senior personnel from either the armed forces or the national security within the region reach out to you?
Not at all. For the Ghana Armed Forces, they've not called. When they detained me, they spoke to me, apologized to me, and said they would take my number. And truly, then they said he would get in touch with me. They've never done. Who called me to check up on me regularly, and the MCE, nobody from the Ghana Armed Force has called me.
Right. So, clearly this is a very unfortunate issue because, in as much as you were attacked, and this is an attack, it's not just like a confrontation where you were simply assaulted, but you were attacked by men in uniform or criminals in uniform, as I'm putting it. And it was not just you. From the videos we are seeing and the information we are hearing from the ground, regular civilians going about their daily activity were also attacked. And what was a general perception in the area when all of these attacks started happening? We're told people started running.
Yes, because this is not the first one that has happened. The first one that happened, people felt though that time there were circumstances that called for such actions. But as I talk to you, I live in Wale Wale. That is where I stay as a journalist. And I can tell you that Wale Wale is calm. Everyone goes and comes out from his or her daily activities, and businesses, in fact, were going on smoothly. And yesterday itself was a busy day. You know, Wale Wale, where it is located. So people are, in fact, going on with their daily activities. And I can tell you that Wale Wale is a peaceful place that things are calm. So unless maybe the military have something different, when you look at the release they brought, they mentioned some of the attacks. But I can tell you that Wale Wale, maybe apart from outskirts, Wale Wale Township, these things hasn't happened for, let me see, some time now.
Well, Solomon, we'll have to leave it here for now as we await whatever investigation they say they are undertaking would come out. Thank you for speaking to us, Solomon. And Solomon Kanawule is a correspondent in the Northeast region, where some criminals who were wearing military uniforms attacked not just him as a journalist, but other civilians who were going about their daily activities. And in the empty statement that has just been issued by the Ghana Armed Forces, they go on to say that they were undertaking an operation, and even go further to say that the general public is hereby informed to cooperate with the Ghana Armed Forces and other security agencies, because they will occasionally be conducting some military operations without notice. And if it is the citizens that you are going to undertake these operations to protect, you rather go to attack them, then it is as good as not even going there at all. But we await. As you say, you are investigating. We await to see what the result of this investigation is. And we'll follow this particular story very closely to its logical conclusion, to ensure that the criminals who attack the civilians and the journalists are brought to book. So we get to know that truly the armed forces is there as an institution to protect civilians and Ghanaians, because they are not above the law. We are all under the same law. You are in uniform doing your job. I am a journalist. And if anything, dialogue first, unless you came under attack. But if the army did not come under attack, and then by virtue of you being in uniform, you feel you are a rock or a mountain and can beat and attack just anybody, that is very unfortunate, very archaic, very backward, and does not require you to even wear that uniform that we know some soldiers who are professional and get their job done right. We are waiting to see the end of the investigation, as the Ghana Armed Forces have said they are undertaking. You're still listening to Hot Edition. This is 3FM 92.7. We are going on to some other stories this evening, because a lot has been happening in the camp of the National Democratic Congress. So the leadership of the National Democratic Congress have vowed to seek redress following the reinstatement of Matthew Nyindam as Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency after the Supreme Court's decision. Earlier, the Apex Court, by a 4-1 majority decision, quashed the Tamale High Court ruling that annulled the Pandai parliamentary election in December 2024. The Apex Court held that the Tamale High Court lacked the jurisdiction to hear the election petition, which was filed by the defeated NDC parliamentary candidate Daniel Nsala Wapal, as the petition was presented outside the mandatory statutory time limit. This follows a judicial review application filed by lawyer Gary Nimakon, the NPP's Director of Legal. Consequently, the proposed parliamentary election rerun in Pandai will not take place, and the Supreme Court's decision effectively upholds the election of the NPP's Matthew Nyindam as the duly elected MP for Pandai constituency. First, let's hear Gary Nimakon, who is the lawyer for, he's a Director of Legal Affairs for the New Patriotic Party, and he was in court at the Supreme Court earlier today, and has also been speaking to the media right after the court's decision.
He says when the High Court in Tamale gave that judgment, you were very sad about that, and you actually used that on the judge that the people agree. But now you got to the we took a legal route. What we did as a party, we took a legal route, and the court said that. So that should be it.
Apologies for the poor sound quality there. So we were expecting to hear Gary Nimakon speaking on the final verdict given by the Supreme Court on the Pandai constituency story. The Member of Parliament, Matthew Nyindam himself, was in court today and has also been speaking on what he has termed as a victory. He was quick on his social media to post, "God has done it." Let's listen to Matthew Nyindam.
2012, I was elected, and I served the people 2 terms. They know whom I am, and I'm serving them honestly. So unfortunately, what happened, I give glory to God. In my life, whatever happens, I think that is ordained to happen. So I'm not going to run away from what happened. But I know very well that the people gave me the money. And by the grace of God, God is alive. My God is alive. Yes. He will obviously speak for me one day. And he has spoken to me for today. And I'm grateful. I'm going back to Parliament to continue to serve the people. Just like my youth organizer said, we are not serving MPP people in Kwanda or NDC people in Kwanda or CPP. I'm serving the people of Kwanda. That's what I'm doing. And every single individual in Kwanda, unless you are excessively partisan, you like Matthew's services.
That's the man. That's our choice.
So obviously, I am happy, but the Bible says, touch not my anointed, and do my prophet no harm. So I am grateful to the Supreme Court for making that work come to pass today, because I am serving my people, and I'm anointed to lead them. So shall it be.
And today is the day the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice in it.
Amen. Indeed, but the NDC is saying that once the ruling is out, it will be out in February 2nd. And we'll go back to they're saying that it's not the last 7 years of them.
That is their choice. I cannot challenge that. But I strongly believe that whatever be the case, I will lead the people.
Thank you.
And you heard the voice of Matthew Nyindam, who is the Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency. Clearly a very elated man, and was happy, and says that he believes that whatever happens in his life is allowed to happen by God, and that if God does not permit it, it will not happen. So he clearly is excited about the Supreme Court upholding him as the duly elected Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency. Now, let's go to the camp of the NDC, who are clearly quite unhappy about the decision. Member of the legal team, Roxanne Nelson Dapamepo, speaking after the ruling, said the NDC intends to challenge the decision.
As a party, we are aggrieved by this decision, and therefore we will advise our candidate in the matter regarding the next step to take. But the court is a court of equity. We should be interested in the Gazette notification published by the Assembly Press under the authority of the Electoral Commission that was brought to Parliament, for which people like me were sworn in. That cannot be a gazette that will be discounted by the court, because it's a public document. The MPP cannot benefit from that gazette notification.
Unfortunately, there seems to be a lot more sound ambience in that audio we are playing for you, and we are unable to hear clearly what the NDC's Roxanne Nelson Dapamepo is saying. Let's go to the phone lines now and speak to private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, who's joined us. Mr. Pebu, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Yes, good evening, Martin.
Yes.
Yeah.
What exactly do you make of the court's decision? They say, based on what we have heard, that the Tamale High Court, first of all, did not have the jurisdiction to hear the matter, and so that was overturned, and Nyindam has been upheld as the duly elected MP. How does this come to you?
So I would say it's an eye-opener to all of us as lawyers. It's an eye-opener because if I understood Dapamepo's argument, he was saying, and it sounded attractive, because he was saying that there were two gazette publications by the EC. The first one did not contain certain constituencies, that's meaning constituencies where there were disputes and other things. So the EC first did a certain publication, and then later when issues were resolved, the EC did a second gazette publication. That's, it's that's gazetting the parliamentary results. So that's containing all the constituencies, meaning that the first one was incomplete. So that's some of the court's argument was that in the Pandai one, the first one did not include Pandai. So once it didn't include Pandai, then that means that if you are going to court, because Pandai, the first EC publication did not include Pandai, then it means that the time for going to court, the 21 days, under the law, the 21 days you calculate in order to go to court, should not start running because Panda was not in the first list. Just like the same thing happened with NS Kumi, the one who died, that Akwetia. Also. So, but in that case, the EC said, no. Once, so I said the EC, the Supreme Court held that no, they will use the first publication. So I mean, as a lawyer, it was interesting. Where I was sitting, I was thinking that maybe in this one they would depart, because the argument is that the first publication does not contain a certain constituency. That constituency result is not in that publication. So if your details are not in that publication, how can you begin to prepare for court? Meaning that once there are issues, wait for the issues to be resolved, and then when the EC has declared your results, that by publishing it, doing the Gazette publication, then you begin to count the 21 days. On the face of it, it sounds very attractive, but I don't know why the Supreme Court, maybe that's not the argument that the court saw. So we would not know. It would not know. But at least so far, once the court has said that, no, the judge has no jurisdiction, then it presupposes that they are using the old, that's the first publication. So it's an eye-opener, but we'll see the exact reasons when the full reasons are given.
And again, like you said, another argument that was made was that the election petition was filed outside the mandatory 21-day period. That probably could also inform the judge's decisions, right?
So that is the one. So let me explain. So that is the one that Onopo was arguing that the 21 days, to count 20, when do you start counting 21? So that Onopo is saying that I'll start counting 21 days from the date the EC published the second list. Let me call it list to make it easy. The second publication, which included Pandai. So that's where Dafemoko started counting, saying that they will not count from the first one because they were not in the first one, saying that they were not, that Pandai was not covered when the first publication was done. That was the same argument that was done for different, what do you call it?
As well.
The Akwetia one.
Yes.
It sounds reasonable. So he's saying that, look, this first publication EC did, my name is not in it. If my name is not in it, I shouldn't start counting the 21 days. Wait, when the EC now publishes it, my constituency, with my name in it, then that's when I should start. On the face of it, it sounds reasonable, this counting thing. Because you look at it, Omase, he's saying that this first one you publish, my constituency is not in it, my name is not in it. So why should I use that one to calculate when to go to court? Yeah. When I'm waiting for you to resolve issues so that you can now put my name in that. Because so the first document, in other words, when you reach court, it's your name in this document you've brought. You see, sometimes the law is common sense. Yeah. So when you take the first one, you start counting. The moment EC did the publication, then you use that first one. So when they ask you, is your name here? Is your constituency in there? No. But it's the Supreme Court that decides. So let's see how they justified it.
Okay. And finally, the NDC says they would, seek redress. Is there any other way? Because I'm sure many in the public will think that when the Supreme Court speaks, that's final. Do they still have any legal window they probably could use?
Yes, there's what is called the review. So when the Supreme Court gives judgment, you are not happy, yes, you are allowed to apply for a review. Except that, like the way you say, usually the review is hard to win. It's usually very difficult to win. I can tell you without any shadow of doubt that the review, usually when you apply, from my experience, it's not more than 10%. So about 90% of the chance they fail. It cannot be. Review is very difficult to win.
Okay.
Very difficult. Yeah. Otherwise, review is very difficult to win. You ask lawyers. Sometimes you see the problem from where we sit as lawyers. You think that this thing is easy. They should overturn it in review. But you go and then no, they don't overturn.
And is it usually the same panel of judges that sit on the reviews?
Yes, plus 2.
Okay.
So if there are 5 judges that sat, that same 5, unless maybe something comes up and they have to disqualify or somebody sick can no longer do the work.
Okay.
Otherwise, ordinarily, it's that 5 plus 2.
Okay. Counsel, thank you so much for your time this evening.
You're welcome.
And Martin Pebu is a private legal practitioner and again helping us, get a better understanding of the court's ruling and says that, well, in as much as the NDC intends to seek a review of this court's decision, which has upheld Matthew Nyindam as the MP-elect, no, not MP-elect, the Member of Parliament, the substantive MP for the Kwandai constituency, the chances of the NDC are quite slim, but we'll see as they head back to the Supreme Court for a review of this decision. We'll see how all of this plays out. And many are also celebrating the fact that the court has ruled in favor of the NPP MP and have made reference to the fact that had it been a few years ago, the situation would probably not have gone as it has because of the kinds of public perception about the judiciary. Clearly, it was not in good light that the judiciary was seen a few years ago, where many were using the words like unanimous FC because almost every decision by the Supreme Court was unanimous. For this particular case, there was one lawyer that dissented, and that's one judge that dissented, I should say, Justice Poamang. He dissented, so it was a five-member panel of 5 judges that sat on it, and the final decision was a 4-1, with a 1 being Justice Poamang. But we'll see what the coming days hold for this particular issue and how whether or not the NDC's decision to seek a review is going to fetch any new results as we go forward. You're still listening to 3FM. This is Hot Edition. Let's go on to some other stories now. Vetting of the 5 aspirants contesting the National Democratic Congress IRC East parliamentary slot has come to an end. It started today and has ended. As we know, 6 individuals have picked forms to contest. However, the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC rejected a request by Hajia Amina Adam, the widow of the late IRC East Member of Parliament, Nasser Ture Mahama, to undergo virtual vetting ahead of the party's parliamentary primary. Haji Amina submitted the request on Tuesday, citing her mourning period and the need to observe Islamic widowhood rites as the reason for seeking an online vetting. However, party leadership insisted that all aspirants must appear in person. So, as we speak, we are unable to tell whether she will be given any preferential treatment regarding her interest to run on the ticket of the NDC, or as the vetting has come to an end, it means her chances are also being shut. Let's speak to Ismail Abdul Razak, who is aide to Madam Hajia Nazar. He's joined us on phone for a quick chat. Ismail, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. Right, so we'll try and see if we can get that connection. But from all intents and purposes, it looks as though the individuals, the 6 actually, the 6 individuals, including Hajia Amina Adam, are all part of the people seeking, including the Ghana's High Commissioner to the Republic of Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Baba Jamal, who was other vetting himself. So let's speak to Ismail. All right, so let's speak to Jibril Mahdi, who is Deputy Director in charge of Elections and IT of the NDC. Jibril, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
You're welcome.
How did the vetting go generally? We are told that out of the 6, you were able to meet 5 of the aspirants. How was the session like?
It was 6 individuals who picked nominations at the close of day on Saturday. But it was 5 out of the 6 that submitted their nomination yesterday. So these 5 people were vetted today and all led to contest the election.
So 6 picked forms, but 5 submitted, and the 5 have been vetted and cleared. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. We do know, did the 5 include Haji Amin Adam?
Yeah, the 5 include Amina Adam, who was even the first to be at the vetting grounds today. So all the five, including Amina Adam.
Oh, okay. So she actually met the vetting committee?
Yes, she met the vet committee. After the vetting, we balloted, and she's second on the ballot.
Wow, that's quite interesting. And that is clearly different from what we had heard a few minutes ago before coming on air, that she requested to do her vetting virtually. Did that come to your attention?
Yes, that is so. She requested that on Tuesday. The same Tuesday, PEC met, and we rejected her request. And that's why today she came to the vetting, and then she was vetted.
Wow, okay, great. So who was the sixth person who couldn't turn up?
The sixth person is Daura, who didn't turn up. He didn't file. So he didn't even file. So we say that he's not even part of the contest.
Of the process at all. Okay. And so now that all of these aspirants have been cleared, what's the next line of action for the NDC? What's the next process?
We have published the notice of poll, because after the ballot, we published the notice of poll. We are going on to bring the ballot papers. We have already engaged the Electoral Commission and the police, also secured the venue for the election, which will come on the 7th of February, starting from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's what the party is doing. Now, the candidates having gone through the vetting process, they are free to campaign in the constituency till the day that we hold the election.
And we're told that they've also been cautioned to be decorous in their campaign. Why is that necessary? Why would you caution people who are expected to know that politics is about your message and not acrimony or backbiting?
So we are dealing with human institutions. These are internal elections. And then after the internal elections, out of the five, there's only one who will win. So if you don't manage this first internal election, at the end of the day, when we are going to the main election, which is on the 3rd March, it can cause a problem for the party. That's why we caution the aspirants and the supporters that it's about internal elections. So manage your campaign, devoid of insults and attacks on individuals. Just talk about what you can do for the constituency, leading the party. And that's why we caution them, both for them, even the candidates, also to sign undertakings that you will manage their supporters.
All right, we'll have to leave it here for now. Thank you so much. And certainly this is a constituency or an election that we are all interested in, so we'll be keeping very close eyes on. Thank you for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
And you heard Jibril Mahdi, who is the Deputy Director in charge of elections and IT of the NDC, and has been confirming, amongst other things, that Hajia Amina Adam actually went through the vetting process and has also been cleared to contest. So it is not it is actually contrary to earlier information we got, which was that her request to be vetted virtually was rejected by the party. He confirmed, I'm talking about Jibril Mahdi, the Deputy Director of IT of the NDC, confirmed that Hajia had sent them a request to be vetted virtually. They looked at it and dismissed it because they said, no, every aspirant must appear in person. So she was among the first that met the committee. She was duly vetted and has been cleared to contest. So out of the 6 candidates or 6 aspirants who picked nomination forms, 5 of them have gone through the vetting process and have been cleared to contest the election. So we'll see what this means. And amongst them, like I mentioned, we have also Baba Jamal, who is Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, also contesting. So very interesting days ahead, and subsequently we'll update you on how all of this is likely to play out and who would be replacing the late Member of Parliament for the Ayawasu East constituency. And if all things go as planned, they will be going up against an NPP aspirant who is also the former MCE for the Ayawasu East constituency. And I would let you know who eventually represents the constituents in Parliament. This by-election, which is set for the 3rd of March, came about as a result of the death of Nasser Toure Mahama, who was the Member of Parliament and passed away a few weeks ago. And on the back of that, he has necessitated a by-election in the constituency. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition, and we are going on to some other stories. Now, you would recall that pressure is mounting on Professor Asiedu-Dartey, who is the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. Now, the pressure that is mounting on him is for him to resign his position. And it looks as though that call, which was made initially by the University of Ghana branch of UTAG, has now gotten some a further boost by two other public universities supporting the call for Professor Asiedu-Dartey to resign. So the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, the UCC branch, has backed a growing movement demanding the removal of Professor Asiedu-Dartey and his deputy, Professor Augustine Oklu, accusing them of mismanagement and regulatory failure. In a statement, UTAG UCC aligned itself with an earlier press release by its University of Ghana and KNUST counterparts, arguing that GTEC under Professor Asiedu-Dartey has failed to uphold its mandate of ensuring quality, well-staffed tertiary education across Ghana's public universities. It goes on to say that with tensions rising, the association is now calling on the Chief of Staff at the Presidency to intervene and prevail on President Mahama to remove both Professor Asiedu-Dartey Abdullahi and Professor Augustine Oklu from their positions. UTAG KNUST also urged the officials to resign voluntarily by the 31st of January 2026 in the interest of industrial harmony and to avert possible disruption across public universities. So that's the latest regarding the pressure mounting on Professor Asiedu-Dartey, the Director General of GTEC, to resign. He and his deputy have come under intense fire and are being asked to resign or face their wrath, and their wrath would include, amongst other things, some demonstrations, or they definitely will be taking the law into their own hands, and also ensure that either they do a demonstration and ask that he leave forcefully, or like they've indicated by the 31st of January, he should do the needful and vacate the office. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. We'll bring you the latest in the world of business in a moment, but if you have had any thoughts on the many stories we've treated today, your thoughts are always welcome. Do let us know on our Facebook and YouTube streams. The comment section is yours. Let us know what you make of the many stories we have for you. Stay with us. Time now for business.
This is Business on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee slashes policy rate by 250 basis points to 15.5% as inflation cools. Details briefly. Let's get straight into it now. In a decisive move to bolster economic growth, the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Bank of Ghana has lowered its benchmark interest rate by 250 basis points, bringing it down to 15.5%. The announcement was made by Governor Dr. Johnson Pande Tesiama following the committee's 128th meeting.
The committee, that's the MPC, judged that current monetary conditions do remain tight relative to prevailing inflation dynamics. Sustaining Ghana's macroeconomic gains will hinge on disciplined fiscal policy, strong policy coordination, and targeted agricultural interventions to contain food inflation while remaining vigilant to heightened geopolitical tensions. Based on the foregoing considerations, the committee, the MPC, by a majority decision, voted to lower the monetary policy rate by 250 basis points to 15.5%. The committee will continue to monitor developments closely and take appropriate policy actions to ensure that the gains from macroeconomic stability are translated into sustainable growth.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, there. To other stories, Ghana's total debt stock witnessed a notable decline of approximately 40 billion cedis between September and November 2025, settling at 644.6 billion cedis. According to the latest data from the Bank of Ghana, this figure represents roughly 45.5% of the nation's gross domestic product, marking a significant milestone in the government's ongoing debt sustainability efforts. The following 3 Business Tuesdays report has more.
The reduction in Ghana's public debt by 40 billion cedis between September and November 2025 to 644.6 billion cedis follows a year characterized by fluctuations in the debt stock. While the debts trended upward during the third quarter, the November figures highlight a successful reversal, largely attributed to effective fiscal management and favorable valuation effect. In dollar terms, the total public debt stood at $57.2 billion in November 2025. This is a slight decrease from the $57.8 billion recorded in October, though it remains higher than the $55.1 billion reported in September. Analysts attribute this shift to valuation effect triggered by movements in the exchange rate, with impact the local CD equivalent of external obligations.
That was a 3 News Desk report. That will be all for Business and Hot Edition on 3FM. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Grace Hamuajiman. Oreku is standing by to bring us the latest in the world of sports.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo. Let's start off from the local scene where the Ghana Football Association has sanctioned Heart of Oak assistant coach Gazelle Abdullahi following an incident during the Ghana Premier League match against Mediama Sporting Club. After reviewing the case, the GFA Disciplinary Committee found Abdullahi guilty of misconduct involving an altercation with a ball retriever. He has been handed a 3-match ban, fined 5,000 Ghana cedis, and issued a formal warning. The fine must be paid within 14 days or further sanctions could apply. Let's head to more stories where in Europe, a blockbuster final match of the Champions League phase is packed with dramatic potential, with up to 30 teams still waiting to discover their fate. Holders Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Liverpool are among those battling for direct qualification to the last 16 heading into the final round this week. One of the standout ties sees Chelsea travel to Naples to face Napoli. Chelsea's league phase campaign concludes in southern Italy, and victory combined with favourable results elsewhere could be enough for Liam Rosina's side to clinch a top 8 finish and book direct passage to the round of 16. Napoli, meanwhile, begin the ninth, 25th in the standings. Antonio Conte's side must win to keep their European hopes alive via the knockout playoff phase. With 3 points crucial for both teams, Rosina has underlined the importance of the trip, describing Napoli away as a very difficult encounter.
Question, huge respect for him. Firstly, as a player, an incredible title here last year. This is a very, very strong team. I think who have been unfortunate in the recent games that they played. The games haven't, maybe the results haven't followed the performances that Antonio's team have given. We know it's going to be a very, very difficult game in a very, very special atmosphere, and it doesn't change my plans at all because I've been planning for a very difficult game.
Well, that was Chelsea coach Liam Rosino speaking ahead of the match tonight against Napoli. However, against Copenhagen, today only a win and many goals will do for Barcelona to finish in the top 8 of the Champions League phase, qualifying directly for the round of 16. A challenge that carries special importance for Hansi Flick, as the German coach explained in his pre-match press conference that they want to win and keep a clean sheet.
It's clear that we want to win. So also for me, I said to the team today, it's important also that we have a clean sheet. Very important. We have to defend as a team like we normally do, but also we focus on that we win. We played against opponent. They play very brave from the back and always play an offensive style, and and also they have a chance to reach the next level. So.
Well, that was Barcelona coach Hansi Flick. Let's just quickly go through the fixtures for tonight. Ajax face Olympiacos. Arsenal, who are already through to the next round in the top 8, currently top of the league face Kairat Almaty. Athletic Bilbao home against Sporting CP. Atletico Madrid at home to Bodo Glimt. Barcelona host Copenhagen. Villarreal travel to Bayer Leverkusen. Benfica host Real Madrid. Club Brugge come up against Marseille. Dortmund versus Inter Milan. Eintracht Frankfurt host Tottenham Hotspur. Liverpool are home against Karabakh, and Manchester City host Galatasaray. Monaco play Juventus. Chelsea travel to Naples to face Napoli. Pafos face Slavia Prague. Holders Paris Saint-Germain play Newcastle. PSV hosts Bayern Munich, and Royal Union Saint-Gilloise at home against Atalanta. So some really juicy fixtures to look forward to later tonight, and you can get update of all of that on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. But before we go, news just coming in this evening is that former Manchester City player Raheem Sterling has left Chelsea after 3.5 years at the club. Sterling is now free to sign for any club as a free agent after mutually agreeing to the terms of his exit. The 31-year-old had not played for Chelsea since May 2024, even though he has remained as one of Chelsea's best paid players, earning a reported £325,000 per week. Sterling had 18 months left on his contract that could have cost Chelsea about £25 million if he went on to stay until it ran out in the summer of 2027. That's how we bring an end to the sports segment here and also wrap up Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreko Ampofo.